Engines don't just make power, they make history. Chevy's killer engine, the dark truth about the 302 Turbo Fire, reveals how one small block became both legend and liability. The story of Chevrolet's 302 Turbo Fire begins in the late 1960s, when Trans Am racing was at its peak. The rules were clear. To qualify for the hotly contested 5-liter class, engines couldn't exceed 305 cubic inches. Ford had already fired its shot with the Boss 302, and Chevy couldn't afford to be left behind. The solution was ingenious and a little radical. Chevrolet engineers took the high-revving crankshaft from the 327 small block and dropped it into the 283's compact block. The result was a 302 cubic inch engine that could scream past 7,000 RPM when tuned right. It wasn't built for daily drivers, it was designed for one thing: racing. The 302 Turbo Fire was raw, edgy, and temperamental, but in the hands of skilled teams, it has the potential to become a giant killer. For Chevy, this engine wasn't just about performance, it was about pride. It was their declaration of war in the Trans Am battlefield, a direct response to Ford's dominance. But behind the roar of its exhaust and the glory of its victories, the 302 carried a darker side. It was never meant to be tame, and that meant compromises that would haunt its reputation for decades. But numbers on paper only hinted at the beast within. Chevrolet officially rated the 302 Turbo Fire at 290 horsepower, but almost nobody believed that figure. In reality, dyno tests revealed the engine's true output was much closer to 350 horsepower, and in racing tune, it could push well beyond that. Chevy deliberately underrated it to keep insurance premiums low and satisfy regulations. But enthusiasts quickly realized what they really had: a street-legal race motor. What made the 302 stand apart was its love for high revs. While many muscle car engines of the era made their grunt down low, the 302 came alive past 6,000 RPM, screaming comfortably past 7,000. This was no accident. The engine's mechanical lifter cam and solid valve train were built for racing in mind, sacrificing everyday drivability for peak performance. It was brutal, unforgiving, and not meant for casual cruising. The 302's natural home was under the hood of the first-generation Camaro Z28. With this engine, the Z28 wasn't just another muscle car. It was a weapon built to dominate road courses and challenge Ford's Boss 302 head-on. Word spread quickly. The 302 was overbuilt, underrated, and unmatched in its niche. It wasn't just an engine you drove. It was one you had to wrestle with, a mechanical dare that only the brave accepted. On the track, the 302 proved its true purpose. The late 1960s Trans Am wars became legendary. At the center of that battle was the Chevrolet Camaro Z28. Armed with the fierce 302 Turbo Fire, Ford had its Boss 302 Mustang, but Chevy had an ace in the form of Mark Donohue and the Penske Racing Team. With meticulous preparation and Donohue's precise driving, the Camaro quickly established itself as Ford's greatest threat. The 302's high-revving nature gave Chevy the edge it needed. Unlike bulkier big blocks, this engine thrived in the grueling conditions of road racing, revving hard, staying durable, and pushing the Camaro through turns with relentless urgency. It wasn't just winning races, it was rewriting expectations of what a small block V8 could do. The engine's dominance didn't stay confined to professional circuits. Word spread into the streets, where drag racers discovered the 302 could hold its own against much larger engines. Tuners pushed its limits, and suddenly the Z28 Camaro wasn't just a race car, it was a cultural icon. Ford loyalists had their boss, but Chevy's 302 made the Camaro into the Mustang's nightmare. Every race, every showdown, added to the legend. The rivalry was fierce, personal, and unforgettable, with the 302 at the heart of it all. But glory on the track came with a hidden cost. For all its brilliance, the 302 Turbofire carried a dark side that many casual drivers discovered the hard way. Built as a racing engine first and a street motor second, it was high-strung, temperamental, and unforgiving in daily use. One of its biggest issues was drivability. Unlike torquey big blocks, the 302 demanded to be revved hard before delivering real power. Around town, it felt sluggish and underwhelming. Hardly the experience most buyers expected. On top of that, its mechanical lifters required constant valve lash adjustments, a maintenance headache that turned ownership into a chore. And to run at its best, the engine practically demanded high-octane racing fuel. Even when cared for properly, the 302 wasn't designed for longevity. Its aggressive cam profiles and sky-high revs often shortened engine life, earning it a reputation as a grenade when pushed too far. Insurers took notice too, hiking rates for Z28 owners just as emissions regulations and a looming 1970s fuel crisis began choking performance. What had been a weapon on the track quickly became a liability for the average enthusiast. For many, the dream of owning Chevy's high-revving monster soured once they realized it wasn't built for comfort, or for the long haul. Yet beasts don't fade out, they grow louder with every passing decade. Today, the 302 Turbofire is remembered not for its flaws, but for its legend. Among collectors, surviving Z28 Camaros with their original 302s command staggering prices, as much for the rarity as for what they represent, the golden era of Trans Am racing. Racers and restorers still revere the engine's wild spirit. Its ability to rev sky-high and stay durable in competition proves Chevy could engineer a small block that punched far above its weight. That reputation inspired later generations of high-revving small blocks, influencing everything from the LT1s of the 1990s to the LS-based builds that dominate today's performance scene. The DNA of the 302, lightweight, race-bred, and mercilessly efficient, still echoes through Chevy performance even now. But more than technical legacy, the 302 holds cultural weight. It remains the ultimate example of a race car engine sold to the public. Dangerous, impractical, and often misunderstood. Yes, but also unforgettable. It embodied the rawest form of American muscle philosophy. Victory first, comfort later. For enthusiasts, owning or even hearing a 302 roar is like touching a piece of forbidden history. A flawed masterpiece that reminds us the best machines are often the most untamed. So, was Chevy's 302 Turbofire a killer engine? Or a warning that some motors are just too wild for the street?